The mailman will deliver again. Will he deliver another national championship? That's the question. Stetson Bennett announcing on Wednesday evening, just before dinner, that he will return to the Georgia Bulldogs. So that means the Georgia Bulldogs will have their starting quarterback, three of their four top receivers back. They'll have to replace guys at running back, as we've talked about this season. And then an offensive line that will have to replace Jamari. But other than that, the offensive line is probably in really pretty good shape. So you're going to see a lot of the same from this Georgia offense, which probably means very steady and grinding back for another season. It looks like Todd Monken will still be around, so you might see a lot of the same stuff that we've seen over time for Georgia. Will you see another national championship? That's a good question. Probably not, right? Probably not. But Georgia's going to have their chance. And look, if you don't like Stetson Bennett, I guess fine. That's your deal. I get it. Whatever. But not wanting a guy who just won the national championship to return is like the most Georgia thing ever. Let's say he's not the starter in 2022. Well, we know he's a great backup, and he's a pretty dadgum good starter. The only starter that's won the national championship for Georgia in the last 40 years. So, was it exclusively because of Stetson? No, but he made a lot of plays along the way to get Georgia where it needed to go to win the national championship. Think about the plays like at Tennessee, his play against Arkansas, his play against Auburn was probably Michigan was probably the best game this season. So he showed up big time. Didn't play great at the beginning of the Alabama game in the championship game. Didn't play great against Alabama in Atlanta, but it wasn't as bad as people kind of made it out to be. I don't think he had some mistakes in both Alabama games that I think that cost Georgia the first time and didn't the second. And then I think his worst game was probably Florida. I mean, that he just did not play well against the Gators. He's not played well against the Gators yet. So, in 2020, I would argue that that was because of the injury he sustained throwing a touchdown. But this past year, he just didn't play great against them. But Stetson Bennett returns. Make sure you're getting the book, DAWGSTRUCTION. It's down below. It is something that we are working at right now. We're not going to be so far from sending it to the printers, and we're going to do a couple of runs of this thing. And I want you to get in on the first run. Don't wait around for a second or third run. That's going to push you deeper and deeper into the spring. Order it now, get it at the end of February or get it at the beginning of March, and just chill out reading those. It's all new content. It's photos we have not shown in many places. It really does the photos justice. And there's quite a few images of Stetson in there because of his play. I mean, you look back at what Stetson did in 2021, and he had a really good year. And now I wonder, the curious part to me is, will we see him as a Heisman Trophy candidate? Um, I don't know. There's been some more curious ones. DJ Uiagalelei is not as good a quarterback as Stetson Bennett. Sorry, you can. I mean, it's just the truth. But anyway, Stetson, 2,862 yards, 29 touchdowns, seven interceptions, 259 yards rushing, 14-3 as a starter at Georgia as quarterback. I think that's right. I know he only started a handful of games in 2020. Remember, he did not start against Arkansas, but he did against Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky, and then he didn't start after that because they went with JT, and he started against Florida. After that, they went with JT Daniels. Understandably, I mean, JT was the better quarterback at the time, but it's hard to say that he was the better quarterback in 2020. I mean, there were times when Stetson won the game for them with his legs. I mean, again, his play against Auburn, that was a pretty tough test looking back on it. I mean, Auburn was in that game until the last play of the first half. And for Georgia, they didn't get a lot of games like that. Stetson definitely won Georgia the game against Alabama. I mean, the defense did all it should have and could have done, and it set them up, Georgia, for a fourth quarter where Stetson was pretty much lights out. I mean, the throw to A.D. Mitchell was impressive. The touchdown to, but it was the throw to A.D. Mitchell won them the game at the end of the day. As much as Keely Ringo sealed it, as much as the defense did what they had to do the whole game, both of those teams, somebody was going to break through. James Cook had a huge run. That won Georgia the game. Zamir, the whole fourth quarter, that won them the game. Brock Bowers' touchdown, that won them the game. A.D. Mitchell, it was everybody. It was all of it. Jack Podnesley's huge kick. Huge kick. I think it was a 50-something yarder at the beginning of the fourth quarter or whenever it was. I can't remember. So many people are buying the book. I'm really appreciative of that because it is worth the money. It's right down below, and that's why I'm hearing it in my ear. I'm not hearing it on my phone as I used to. But it was a season to remember. And the question is, what will 2022 be like? I mean, you have stability now at a lot of positions. Offensive line, receivers for the most part, with the exception of Burton leaving. You've got your quarterback returning. You're going to have to fill in at running back. But last I checked, Georgia's got some really good running backs coming back. They're just not as proven as James and Zamir have been. The defense, the offense is probably going to have to score more. But, I mean, is there a difference in winning a game 37-17 and winning it 37-10 or 0? Not a lot. It could be for some tougher games in theory. I'm not sure, though. I look at this schedule, and now that Stetson's coming back, and you have the stability, and guys like Brock Vandergrift can grow. Guys like Carson Beck, if he sticks around, I don't know what he's going to do. But that gives these guys time to grow. Gunnar Stockton. Stetson, although drawing Social Security at this point, has been the quarterback that they've had the most success with lately. It's been better than Jake Fromm. They won the national championship with the guy. And I feel like I'm defending him. He did the right thing coming back. This is the right move. If you want to try to repeat, he gives you probably the best chance at the beginning of the season for sure. Things can always change. Stetson is a great example of that. The guy was a walk-on in 17, was the starter at the beginning of 20, gets benched, sticks around doing his thing, just kind of like biding time. And then UAB plays great. Then I'm telling you right now, there was a full-blown panic before that Arkansas game that Stetson Bennett was starting. And he played great in that game. Georgia played great in that game. And then a week later at Auburn, I mean, he played really well. That really was like the best game he played until the Michigan game, I think. Now I'm going to go look it up but just off the top of my head, the way he played against Auburn was just really, he just really played well. I mean, he only had 21 throws. He was 14 for 21, but he had 41 yards rushing against them. I mean, the formula is the same over and over again for Stetson and Georgia with him as your quarterback. Don't try to throw it 30 times or more, and you're in good shape. And honestly, whenever you start throwing it more than 30 times as a quarterback and as a team, I don't care who you are, Alabama, it's getting kind of dicey at that point. I mean, go take a look at Bryce Young. In fact, I will fill that in for you right now. Bryce Young, everyone's consensus best quarterback coming back into the 2022 season as a defending, if you want to call it that, as the Heisman Trophy winner. Okay, here's where he threw for more than 30 passes in a game. Miami, they won that game easy. Florida, they almost lost that game. Texas A&M, they lost that game. Tennessee, boy, they didn't play great in that game. Took them a while to get going. LSU won on the last play of the game, 37 passes. Arkansas won by a touchdown, 40 passes. Auburn, 51 passes, 25 for 51. He was under 50%. He saved them at the end. Georgia, 44, 26 and 44. He didn't exactly he played great in that game. He played great in that game. But then they asked him to throw it 30 times more again. He couldn't do it. I mean, it just is asking too much after a while. You want to play in your zone. For Bryce Young, it probably means 35 throws or fewer. Because if you look at the two losses he had, and it makes sense. He throws for 48 against Texas A&M, It's too many. Against Georgia, 57. Everything over 35, I mean, Auburn, they had to save themselves. Georgia, they won going away the first time. Arkansas, that was a tight game. LSU, they had to save themselves. Tennessee, they didn't play great. It wasn't great. Florida, 35, they had to save themselves. I mean, you don't want your quarterback throwing a ball all over the place. Not really. So for Stetson, obviously the magic number is 30 or fewer. And in those games, I'm just seeing here, he was undefeated this season. And in 2020, he's probably undefeated in those too. Well, he didn't throw 30 against Florida because he got hurt. But everything else was around 27, 25, something like that. If you're throwing it 20 times as a starting quarterback, you're just completely controlling the game. It's exactly what you want. So I don't know. I mean, I think the maturity level of Stetson at this point, I don't know how old he is. He's certainly like 23 or 4. Um, it gives him the capability to, yeah, win the national championship at Georgia again. That's going to be hard to do. But man, with the way he played these last 2 games of the season, and just generally speaking down the stretch, he's going to come back as one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And it's hard for Georgia fans to appreciate that. If they don't, though, I mean, it's just recency prejudice, I guess. I don't know. I think the kid's a killer. He thinks he's Superman. The guys on the team love him. I can say that with some authority. Um, it's the right move. It's a good move. It's a good day for Georgia. It's not ideal that you lose Jermaine Burton. It's not. I mean, that guy's a good player. But you're returning three of the four top returning. You return three of the four top receivers. You lose Jermaine, and and you get Stetson back, and you get that offensive line is basically back with the. You don't have Schaefer, you don't have Jamari, but everybody else is back. So Warren McClendon, Ratledge, Van Pran. You're going to have Erickson in there. You have the chance for Mims, Morris, and Jones. Georgia's going to be pretty good on offense. Now let's just see how good Stetson is too. Please get on that first run of books. Get on that first run of books. Check it out right now. We're getting this thing. This thing's going to be done soon, and it's going to be ordered. If you're not in when it's ordered, which is going to be happening very soon, you have to wait for the second run of books, and that's going to take a little bit longer. Hey, thanks for watching all of these. We'll see you over on the website.